Maybe your biggest challenge is that you believe you shouldn't have any challenges. Our most painful moments can give our life the greatest meaning. All of my good luck and bad luck were really just maybes. Maybe you're sick and tired of feeling like a victim of your circumstances. Maybe you've had enough of people telling you to look for the positives. Maybe you feel like no one will ever understand what you are going through. Then, absolutely, certainly, without a doubt, you are in the right place. I'm about to share one of the biggest moments of my entire life with you. My book, my first ever book, Maybe This Is Happening for You, not to you, is available for pre-order right now. Behind the scenes, for the last 2 years, I've been working on this project, on this book. I put my heart into it. I put my best lessons that I've learned from facing death into this book. Not just my lessons, also the best lessons about life that I've learned from interviewing some of the greatest minds on planet Earth. It's available at your fingertips. It's available for pre-ordering. Pre-ordering is incredibly important for me. I'm going to be very honest with you. Why would you pre-order a book? For me and the movement. I wrote this book to serve, to help others. I know the story. I know our videos literally save lives. And so pre-ordering really helps this mission. Since you're doing me a favor and the movement a favor, I want to do you a favor, okay? So whoever pre-orders the book gets bonuses worth hundreds of euros. You get an entire day of coaching with me, where you transform together with me your body, your mind, your soul, your finances. And as always, I won't hold back. I give you the tools that you need to transform whatever thought, whatever idea, whatever dream you have, you desire, and take that into reality. What you will hear today in this podcast, in this video, is a live reading, a bit of chapter 1 of this book. As context, I have read it in person, live, to our retreat participants in Mallorca. Beautiful background. And what can I tell you? You're about to listen to it. I hope it makes your decision even easier. If those bonuses, like also live events, the possibility to win prizes worth a bit more than a few hundred euros, and supporting this movement, if that is not reason enough yet, then maybe the content of the book will help. Without further ado, I hope you, and I know many of you, you've been listening to the podcast. The podcast is for free. The podcast is being financed by projects like this. So if you wanna support the movement, if you wanna support the podcast, pre-order the book, grab a copy or two for a friend, for your loved ones, for someone who's going through a tough time. It will really help them. I promise you, this book is one of the best books you've ever read. Sounds very confident. I know it because it includes some of the best teachings, lessons. Not some, I didn't hold back. I promised myself on my so-called deathbed, if I make it out of this alive, I will dedicate my life to serving others. I will share my best lessons. That's exactly what I did. Maybe This Is Happening for You, not to you, is now available for pre-ordering. Grab a couple of copies. It would mean the world to me, to many people. It would save lives and make a massive difference. And also as a great Christmas present. I know it's early before Christmas, but best time to buy Christmas presents is always today. So I hope you enjoy the live reading, chapter 1 of Maybe This Is Happening for You, not to you. Enjoy. I would love to read the first chapter of my book. And it's nothing that I've ever done before with people who are not part of my team. So it's a very precious moment, and I've been we've been working on this book for the last 2 years. And it started with my brother coming into the hospital room. And if I would describe my brother entering this door and like in general his essence, he's like 3 shots of coffee, like an espresso in a nutshell. If you think I have life energy, you should meet my brother. And he comes into the room, and that was the time when it was pandemic. Not many people could visit me. But one person kinda was allowed to be there all the time, even against the rules, because you only had a couple of hours per day. And it was my brother, because my brother is pretty much the most resilient person I know, and the only person who can keep up with my bullshit for an entire day without going insane. And so my brother came in, and it was really, really dark days in my life. I couldn't leave my bed. Free was describing yesterday during our meditation this pain that starts when you lay for too long. And I was just laying all day. I couldn't go to the toilet by myself. And my brother could see that like this guy needs to be busy somehow. So he comes in with an empty college block, with a notebook. And he's like, you should write a book. And I'm like, oh dear, I can't even go to the toilet. What am I gonna write? He's like, I'm just gonna put it here. And the next morning, I looked at a book. I was like, no way I'm going to write a book. I was looking at the book, and usually I journal. I have a gratitude list, but my hands were so weak, I couldn't really write. And then that day, I'm like, what am I grateful for? And that took me half an hour. I was in such a vulnerable space. At that time, I didn't even drink coffee because I was 60 kilograms. Right now I'm 90. Back then I was 60 kilograms. I was in the most vulnerable state, I would say, of my life. I could really... there was nothing in you guys have beautiful cups with tea, and my cup was completely empty, and I was dependent on those amazing people around me. And so this idea stuck with me from my brother. Write a book. And then almost a year later, when my cup was full again, I was like, why not writing a book? And I called my brother and I'm like, remember a year ago when I told you you're an idiot for suggesting to write a book? I'm actually gonna write one. And he's like, so I wrote a book. I spent the last 2 years writing it. I wish my co-author would be here. I hired my best friend, Josh Bowling. Maybe some of you, does anybody know Josh? They know Josh. Such a sweetheart. He's the co-founder of Vivo Life. And my best friend already for quite some time, and he's one of the most talented writers that I know. And so we created this together. The title of the book is Maybe This Is Happening For You, Not To You. It's going to be published 11th of November this year. I hope you all get a copy. And 3, you can decide, also you, you can decide afterwards. I am gonna start reading the beginning of the book, 1 chapter, and we see how it's going. Thank you for being here, and cheers to life. Thank you for being here. Nico, what was your password again? I forgot.
Are you now reading my book?
I didn't write a book. I was all right. Maybe this is happening for you, not to you. Maybe your biggest challenge is that you believe you shouldn't have any challenges. A humble farmer awoke one morning to find that his only horse had run away. He always took great pride in his horse and relied on it for a significant amount of his income. When they heard the news that his only horse is gone, all the local villagers came over and said, "Oh dear, we are so sorry that your only horse is gone. That your only horse has run away. This is so unfortunate," they said. The Chinese farmer replied, "Maybe." The next day, the horse came back with 7 other wild horses. That evening, the same local villagers came back, celebrating. "Wow, what a great turn of events. You now have 8 horses. How lucky you are." The farmer said, "Maybe." The following day, the farmer's son tried to ride on one of the horses. Whilst riding it, he was thrown off, and broke his leg. The villagers came over and said, "Oh dear, what bad luck." And the farmer responded,
Maybe.
Then, that evening, the national service came to the village. A war was breaking out, and all young men, able-bodied young men, were being called into the army to go to war. The farmer's son was excused because he had a broken leg. "Isn't that great?" said the villagers. "Maybe," said the farmer. "Maybe." There's a tremendous amount of faith in this word. Every time we say it, we surrender to something bigger than our tightly held beliefs and opinions. Because in today's world, everyone has a belief and opinion on everything, and that makes it hard to say maybe. We are told that things should be right and wrong, good and bad, pro and anti, left-wing and conservative. There's little room for nuance, and even less for trusting in the bigger picture. This Zen parable. See, that's why I have a co-author who's Australian. Can you say it again?
Parable, mate.
Parable, mate. This Zen parable, mate. Can I please have you when I read the audiobook?
Yeah, no worries, I'll be there.
This Zen parable about a farmer and his horse is one of the most powerful stories I've ever read. Even now, I still go back to it when times are hard. It reminds me that in the greater scheme of things, we don't really know if events are positive or negative. And that's extremely liberating. In my life, I've been through a lot of challenging times. And if you're reading this, I'm willing to bet that you have too. Do these challenges determine our future? Are we destined to become victims of all the bad things that happened to us along the way? Maybe. Or maybe, just maybe, we can change the way we look at challenges. The story of the farmer and his horse shows us that we get to change the meaning of our lives and our life's events simply by changing our perspective toward them. Our life is all about perspective. Either we are born and we die and that's the end of it, or we get to create a beautiful story in between. I promise you, this is not one of those personal growth books from someone who has never been through hard times. I've been to hell and back and endured more pain than I ever thought I could handle, both emotionally and physically. But I'm grateful to this pain for pushing me to my limits and beyond. Not only has it made me stronger, looking back on it all, I can see how it's played a role in creating everything I love about my life today. I can see how all of my good luck and bad luck were really just maybes. And maybe all of those maybes are the reason I'm writing this book here right now. Maybe it's the reason why I'm sitting here with you right now. Maybe this is happening for you, not to you. Maybe just like me, you've been through some very painful moments in your life. Maybe you're in the middle of some right now. Maybe you've picked up this book. Maybe you're sitting with me here right now at this beautiful retreat because you feel like you've got nowhere else to turn. Maybe you're sick and tired of feeling like a victim of your circumstances. Maybe you've had enough of people telling you to look for the positives. Maybe you feel like no one will ever understand what you are going through. Then, absolutely, certainly, without a doubt, you are in the right place. Because take it from someone who knows, life gets fucking hard sometimes. If you picked up this book hoping for someone to tell you otherwise, you should probably head over to the fairy tale section. But if there's one thing I know for sure, it's that these hard times make us who we are. Even better, they give us superpowers. The kind that you also won't find in the fairy tale section. Our greatest adversities can be our greatest gifts. Our greatest challenges can be our biggest teachers. Our most painful moments can give our life the greatest meaning. Don't believe me? Then please read on or listen on. Put everything I'm about to say to the test. This isn't a lecture. It's an experiential guide that will enrich your life with new clarity. Act on these words and you will never be a victim again. Because as the story of the Zen farmer showed us, we never know how things are going to work out. The bad moments in our life may come back to us and save us later. Especially if we are able to break the chain and stop calling them bad. To show you what I'm talking about, I'm going to take you to a time when things got really bad for me. A time when my horse ran away. A time when everyone around me told me I had nothing left. But I didn't give up, and neither should you. When times were hardest, I pictured you here reading these words, and that's the reason I'm still here today. The thought of writing it literally saved my life. And I hope that reading it can impact yours in some way too. This book will probably make you cry. It will absolutely make you grow. I'll try my very best to make you laugh as well. But let's be honest, Germans are not known for their sense of humor. although the subject is a serious one, this isn't a serious book. For whatever reason, I've been given a second chance at life. So I told myself I should be having fun along the way. I hope that by reading it, you have fun as well. Ready? Let's get to it. Chapter 1. When shit hit the fan. He has 5 days left. Call his family. There's nothing we can do. Those are the words that Mari heard in the hospital. I had absolutely no clue what was going on. Not only because I was high on morphine and injected with every painkiller they had, but also because I spoke Czech to the level of a 3-year-old, and I still do. There were at least 5 doctors standing around my bed, and I remember thinking, why the hell are you all being so serious? It was as if they were about to burst into a chorus of happy birthday at any moment. Maybe that was the optimist inside of me, or maybe it was the painkillers. The light in that room was so blinding, I could barely open my eyes. Even though I couldn't see anyone, I could feel the tension in the room. If I'm honest, I don't remember any of it all that well. So this part of the story is based on what Mari told me. She was standing in front of the computer and could see 1 trillion tumors all around my body. She could see the look on the face of the doctor that said he's done, finished. She could see me on the hospital bed, barely responsive, barely recognizable. From the man she fell in love with. The doctors told her to call my family so they could say goodbye. And they were at my bedside before I could say, I need more morphine. Come on, that was very funny. Thank you. I will never forget the look of shock in their faces when they saw me. It turns out that people make a very particular expression when they see a young man that's dying. Especially when just a couple of weeks before, this young man was the embodiment of health. I'd gone from training every day, eating organic vegetables, and running a successful business to being given 5 days left to live. The doctors didn't know it at the time, but I had something called Burkitt leukemia, a rare but aggressive form of cancer that can kill you within a couple of weeks. Reading this, listening to this, you probably have a lot of questions. Why did this happen? Will he survive? How could this possibly happen for you and not to you? I promise I'll tell you the full story, but not yet. I've got more than 200 pages to fill, after all. Before we go any further, let's make a promise to each other. In this book, I'll share the full story with you, all of the best lessons that I learned from facing death. Scratch that. These are the best lessons I've learned in life. And they are not just my lessons. Because of my mission to help others, I get to spend time with some of the most extraordinary people on the planet. In this book, I'm sharing their best lessons too. In return, please promise me to read this book until the end. Most people who buy books apparently don't do this. But I know you're not most people. Did you know that 10% of people read their books cover to cover? It's like buying a beautiful car and then leaving it in the garage. Imagine having your dream car just sitting there and then never driving it. With every book, an author is giving you decades of wisdom and experience for the price of a few Starbucks Frappuccinos. Or, if you live in London, one Starbucks Frappuccino. So in this case, please don't be most people. Do we have a deal? I want this book to redefine the way you interact with books. I don't want it to be something you read once and then leave on the shelf. I want it to be your own personal manual that you can pick up again and again whenever you feel stuck. Feel free to drop in and out of chapters as they serve you, so that you can really apply the wisdom they contain to your own life. When I was laying in the hospital room, diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, wired up to machines, unable to walk or even use the toilet by myself, I made a promise that if I make it out of this alive, I will dedicate my time on earth to helping others. Spoiler alert, I did. I told myself that from this moment onwards, my life will be in service. And that's exactly why I've written this book. You see, we humans learn in two ways. Either by trial and error, a kid touches a hot stove. Australian? Stave. Stave. Either by trial and error, a kid touches a hot stove, or from the lessons of others. Their parents tell them not to touch it. I was put in the unique situation of facing death in my mid-20s, and I invite you to use the lessons I learned in this time so that you don't have to wait until you're 85 to reflect on what's really important. So you don't have to touch the stove yourself to realize it's fucking hot. Challenging times don't happen to us, they happen for us. Your biggest problem is ... What the hell do you know about my problems? You don't have a clue what I've been through. Who are you to tell me what my biggest problem is? I can literally hear all the things you're saying. Once upon a time, I would have had said them myself too. Once upon a time, I had a life full of problems. At night, I would pray for them all to go away. These days, I believe that every problem we face is actually a growth opportunity in disguise. Challenging times don't happen to us, they happen for us. So now I'll go ahead and say it. I believe your biggest problem is that you believe you shouldn't have any problems. Because problems are challenges, and challenges are an opportunity to grow. No one wants problems, but everybody loves a challenge. No, don't get me wrong. If you would have told me this when I was laying on my so-called deathbed, surrounded by doctors who had given up and told my loved ones there was nothing they could do to save me, I have thought you were crazy. It's freaking British English when writing. you got the point. At the time, I'd never have believed that there could be any meaning in something that felt so cruel and so painful. But now, when I look back at this time, I can see clearly that it all happened for a reason. I can honestly say that I'm grateful that I had stage 4 cancer. I'm grateful that I was told I had 5 days left to live. And I'm grateful for all the other extremely difficult things I've been through in my life. It all happened for me, not to me. I know this probably sounds crazy, but it's true. Just stick with me until the end of this chapter, and I'll show you exactly why. And even more importantly, you will be able to do the same thing in your life. I want you to be able to look back at your most challenging times, no matter how painful they have been, and reframe the meaning to a positive one. My challenges started when I was a baby. I was born into an immigrant family, my parents moving from Uzbekistan to Germany when I was still in the womb. They took a risk, moved everything, including my 2 siblings, to a brand new country where they didn't speak the language, for a chance at a better life. That dream didn't come exactly true. My oldest memory is sitting in a car as a baby. It was cold, the middle of the night, and my whole family were acting really weird. That was the night that my mother died. She had been suffering from cervical cancer since just after I was born. I learned later on from my older sister that the doctors told mom it was impossible she would get pregnant again. Either there were translation problems due to her lack of German, or maybe she was a very, very wise woman who listened to her heart. Maybe she was so wise, she understood the true meaning of impossible. Because impossible literally says,
Impossible.
long story short, the impossible child was born. Me. I'm not going to bore you with too many details about my childhood, as this isn't an autobiography, but I think my mom played a big part in the way I look at challenges. More challenges followed. The death of my mother was a big challenge to all the people around me, including my father. He turned to alcohol, and I became the daily subject of his mental and physical abuse. He put me through things that were inhuman and unfair. When life presents us with challenges, we can either face them, even if it's unbelievably painful, and learn from them, or we try to run away from pain, hide it, or do anything we can to try to numb it. My father turned to alcohol to hide his pain, but he ended up taking it out all on me. Remember? This chapter, is all about reframing our perspective. It would have been so easy for the death of my mother to hold me back from living life to its fullest. It would have been so easy to be the victim of my father's abuse and use the cards that I'd been dealt as an excuse when things didn't go my way. And the truth is, for many years, I did exactly that. Until one day, I stopped asking myself, why did this happen to me? And instead started asking, how did this happen for me? Despite all of the pain it has caused, how could the death of my mother give my life new meaning? And if my mom was here, what would she want to say to me? How would she want me to live my life? Even though losing my mom was incredibly difficult, and even though the abuse from my father was incredibly painful, there was one very clear meaning that these challenges brought to my life. There was one very clear blessing hidden amongst all the hardship. Her name was Grandma. Imagine the kindest, most caring woman you've ever met. Can you think of someone? Multiply that by 100, 150. That was my grandma. She took me in like her own son. She gave me unconditional love, cooked me the most delicious pilmeni, that's dumplings, omelette and potatoes with onions. You know those little baby potatoes? Caramelized onions. Mwah. And when I was with her, I forgot all about the harsh reality of my day-to-day life. She would celebrate me like I just won an Oscar when I did something kind. She would cheer me on as I held the door open for a stranger. She dedicated her life to serving others, and she was the happiest person I know. She was my first mentor, my first role model. It was incredibly important to her that one day I picked a job that helped others. She wanted me to find meaning in life and not just follow someone else's path. Grandma was a big part of the reason I decided to quit my job, to quit my insurance job at 19, travel the world, and eventually dedicate my life to helping others. Sunflowers. Without my grandma, I wouldn't be writing this today. And as this book is all about helping others, I'm dedicating the most important parts to her. My grandma loved sunflowers. She used to grow them in her garden in the summer. Every time I see sunflowers, I'm taken back to Grandma's garden as a child. So I've put sunflowers next to the big lessons in each chapter. Look out for them throughout the entire book. And read that section extra carefully, as these are the most important parts. We'll talk more about my grandma in another chapter, but for now, let's get back to the story. And sunflowers. I'm good, thank you. But then, when I was 5, we moved to a new village called Weze. Very beautiful. I didn't get to see my grandma so often from then. When we moved to Weze, I had to become self-sufficient. I rode my bike to school and to football practice, and I made my own food, which wasn't at all bad, as I got to eat Nutella sandwiches every day for breakfast and lunch. I even did my own homework, or more accurately, made up my own excuses for not doing it. I got away with it until 5th grade, when I came home to find my father and my sister staring at me from the other side of the living room. Immediately I knew something was wrong. The school had called earlier that day and told them I'd be kicked out unless my performance improved. I was failing every major class. Do you know those? In Germany we have something called blue letters. They're not blue, but for some reason we call them blue. Everybody's terrified. They have arrived. My father told me I was banned from football practice until I was at least a C student in every subject. I cried all night, not because I was failing, but because football was the only place I could escape from my life. It was the only place I felt safe. I had no choice but to improve. In the school the next day, I said to myself, if I want to become a good student, why not do what the good students do? Football is the thing that first taught me this. I remember watching hours of Cristiano Ronaldo. I think you guys know Cristiano. No context needed. I remembered watching hours of Cristiano Ronaldo videos, making notes on how he moves, how he runs with the ball, how he shoots. So I did the same thing with the top students in my class. I found the patterns that turned the average kid into the great ones. The successful students all came prepared. They all did their homework and handed it in on time. They asked questions. Just by raising their hands, their grades improved. Sometimes they even studied the pages we would do the next day in advance. Did anybody of you do that? Yeah? So,
It's a safe place, you can admit.
Okay, that was fun for That's the only thing I had.
They knew the answers before we even got to the questions. I went home that night. I was grounded with nothing else to do, so I thought that I might as well get started. I read the pages of the next lesson, and the next day I showed up to class with my homework done. I remember the moment vividly. In my math class with Mrs. Blaustein, her name was Rotstein, which is red stone, but I had to change it, so it's Blaustein, which is blues. It was math class with Mrs. Blaustein. She hated me. 7 years ago, my brother was her student, and he didn't exactly make a good name for the Schura. Just like every day, she asked the class who wanted to present the homework. Out of all of the hands that went up, the last one she expected was mine. Axel, do you want to go to the toilet? No. I want to present my homework. An expression came on her face that was a mixture of laughter, confusion, and panic. Okay, let's see it. It was flawless. How on earth did you do that? Easy, Mrs. Blaustein. I said, I asked my brother for help. I was kidding about the last bit. I'd done it all on my own, along with the rest of my homework. Word quickly spread amongst the teachers about the E student who all of a sudden started acing his homework. Are you fucking with us? One of them asked me. Yes, I am. But I also have to become a good student within 3 months to play football. So I have no option. Within 3 months, I went from failing all my classes to scoring top grades. At the end of the year, I was the 3rd best in the entire class. For the first time, I realized what I could do when I put my mind to something. I was also allowed to play football again. During my school years, I was bullied for how I looked. I was skinny, I wore my brother's clothes that were 3 sizes too big for me. My father would cut my hair and there was only one cut on his menu. Shave it all off. Through either a miracle or more likely my determination, thanks mom, I eventually convinced my father to try a new style. I showed him a picture of wrong, Justin Bieber. And
It was hard.
I showed him a picture of Justin Bieber and he gave it his best shot. I looked like someone had put a pot on my head and cut around the rim, in German called Topfschnitt. When I went into the school the next day, everybody started laughing, including my first ever crush. Linda was her name. I didn't say that here, but her name was Linda. I was heartbroken. At this point, I decided to take my life into my own hands. So I started to save for my first haircut. How can an 11-year-old ever make enough money to save for a haircut? Well, in Germany, we have a system where you can earn a few cents for bringing empty plastic bottles back to the supermarket. It helps to encourage people to recycle and sometimes pay for the haircut of a small boy called Axel. I collected every single bottle I could find in the house and took them to the supermarket. I went to the train station, the football club, the fishing lakes, every single place where I could find anything that even looked like a plastic bottle. A new entrepreneur and environmentalist was born. I woke up at 5 a.m. so I couldn't be seen leaving the house. Even though I was earning my own money, it was a small village and I didn't want to be seen fishing in trash cans for a plastic bottle. 1 week later, I had enough money to get my haircut. There's a picture of it at the end of this chapter if you want to laugh, but you have to promise me you'll keep reading before you get there. I realized that if I wanted to have a different life, I have to take responsibility. The moment I started taking responsibility and stopped living like a victim, my life began to change. Fun fact, later, when I was 18, I made 150 euros in a few hours with the same business model. I went to a festival, danced, partied, and then at the end of the festival, I put on my hoodie, just like Free did, right over there, and collected enough bottles to pay for my ticket. Just the hoodie reference. Free didn't do that. Peruka will. Maybe. And my ride home. Sunflowers. If I think about my toughest challenges, I for sure think about my childhood and the abuse that I told you about. My life changed completely when I changed the way I look at challenges. Truth is, without the challenges that I had to overcome, without the loss of my mother, without the abuse from my father, without the bullying at school, without the failed Justin Bieber haircut, I wouldn't be the man that I'm proud to be today. My life changed when I realized that all of my challenges were sent to me for a reason. Without my mother dying, I would have never have had such a beautiful relationship with my grandma or been so close to my siblings. Without the pain of being bullied for my haircut, I would have never found my entrepreneurial spirit and started making my own money. Without the abuse I suffered, I would have never have built the emotional muscle needed to help other people for a living. Without my difficult childhood, I would never have developed all of the qualities that my closest friends now tell me they love about me. And without all of my hardest times, I would never have been strong enough to survive when I found myself in that hospital bed. Imagine that you hid under a rock all day, like this one, tiny one. Imagine that you never went out, never risked anything, never tried anything new. You probably wouldn't have many challenges, right? But who wants to spend their entire life under a rock? When we put ourselves into the world, we meet challenges, and that's where the growth happens. That's where life happens. Every single time when you try something new, new challenges will arise. Every time you get a new job, every time you begin a new relationship, why did I say just new relationship? Every time you are in a relationship. Challenges are what come when we step into growth. In other words, challenges are here to stay. You'll keep facing them for the rest of your life. At some point along the way, people convinced us that we should seek a life without challenges. I say, bullshit. Challenges are one of the most important parts of the human experience. This doesn't mean that I deserved any of the things that happened in my past. This doesn't mean that you deserved any of the things that happened in your past, but we can, if we choose, make something beautiful out of them. Because we really only have two options. Either we let our challenges define our story, or we use them to change our story. Either we live in the pain of the past, or we use it consciously to create a better future. We are the ones who get to decide. Sunflower. End. An example we can use here are two twin... So by the way, when I say sunflowers, you'll see a sunflower. Right? When I say sunflower ending, you see a sunflower ending. An example we can use here are two twin brothers growing up with an alcoholic father. In childhood, they faced the same terror, the same mood swings, the same abuse. They both move out as soon as they can, the day they turn 18. Then, 10 years later, a childhood friend travels to meet the twin brothers. Things don't look good when he arrives at the home of twin one. In a beaten-up apartment block where the paint is peeling from the doors and half of the windows are broken. Twins one, front door is already open. You all know those kind of apartments. You go in, everything fucking smells like cigarette. You see bottles, you see, all the dishes in the sink. It's dark and it smells like an ashtray. There are empty beer bottles all over the apartment and a tower of dirty dishes in the sink. Is someone there? Says twin one from the bedroom. A few moments later, he stumbles out with bleary eyes and messy hair. Sorry, I forgot you were coming, he says to his old friend. His breath stinks of alcohol, his skin is gray, he's crippled with addiction. How did this happen? Asks the friend with grave concern. With an alcoholic father, I had no other choice. The next day, the old friend visits twin number two. He is in half a mind not to show up. The thought of seeing another of his childhood friends in such a sorry state is almost too much to bear. But he's come all this way, so he follows the direction to twin numbers two, whatever, it's written, to the fucking second twin. Yeah. Sure, it's written correctly, I just can't read it. The streets are becoming quieter and lined up with beautiful trees. Maybe a tree, you've seen that beautiful, the beautiful house, maybe a house like this one. Beautiful palm trees around, amazing flowers. Look, you saw that house? Gorgeous, right? He parks his car in front of a picture-perfect white house framed with flower beds. Surely this isn't the right place, the friend thinks to himself. He walks down to the drive tentatively. Then, right on cue, twin number two comes to the door with a smile that shines like the sun. He's wearing a pair of perfectly pressed linen pants, the most beautiful sunglasses straight from Miriam's shop, and a smart shirt. He clearly has the same facial structure as twin one, but they look like two completely different people. His hair is thick and his skin is glowing. Inside, the house is bright, spacious, and filled with beautiful furniture. I don't understand, says his old friend. How did things turn out so well for you? I'm very lucky, replied twin number 2. My childhood gave me resilience, a strong work ethic, and appreciation for the beautiful things in life. With an alcoholic father like this, I had no other chance. The first brother grew up with an alcoholic father and played out the same cycle of addiction in his own life. As soon as he moved out, he fell in with the wrong crowd, started partying, and turned to alcohol and drugs. The second brother grew up with an alcoholic father and was determined to be different. He saw firsthand how detrimental alcohol was and never touched a drop. He used the pain of his childhood to empower a strong work ethic and create a better life for himself. The first brother became defined by his circumstances, and the challenges he faced became his story. The second brother used his challenges to create new circumstances and thus created a new story. Maybe a better way of describing this: the first brother had problems, the second brother had challenges. Thank you. Life happened to the first brother and happened for the second. Time for action. Write down 2 challenges from your past. Now write down all of the ways these challenges helped you to learn and grow. Ask yourself, what is a really challenging time you faced? How did you get through it? What unique skills did you develop as a result? How would you be different without these skills? How have your past challenges helped your future self? P.S. Whatever you do, don't try to skip this action step or any of the other action steps in this book. It's the most important part. And for every person that skips the action steps, I go without hummus for 1 day. And I love hummus. When you get the book, when you buy the book, it says, 1 page, impossible literally says I'm possible. The next page, it's me with this Justin Bieber haircut. 14-year-old Axel doing his best to look like Justin Bieber. And that was it. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you pre-order if you haven't yet. Right now is a very good time, whether that's the ebook version or later on the paperback or both. It would mean the world. I'm so excited for you to pre-order. That will also mean that most likely we will be working together, either live if you order pretty quickly, because we do have a very special thing for everybody who orders very quickly, who pre-orders very quickly. We will have multiple occasions where we'll have live readings, live events. So maybe I will see you in person. If not, there are all of my visualization practices, my guided meditations, that if you use that for the next 30 days, your life will change forever. The quality of your life will change forever. You get all the tools that help me turn shit into gold. Really, the cards that I've been given at the beginning of my life weren't the best. I turned it into something beautiful. Many others did as well. You get all of those tools when you pre-order. So right now, grab a copy or a couple copies, share it on social media, tag me so that I can say thank you. And from the bottom of my heart, may you be safe, healthy, and peaceful. And until very, very soon. Ciao, everybody. And thank you for your support. Mwah.